Welcome, friends. As part of our cybersecurity awareness quarterly training, we took a little bit of time to discuss Microsoft Teams and file sharing. These are two things we do all the time, and like any piece of a live software, meaning software that's active, popular, out there, is going to get modified and changed and updated. So there's been a lot of changes to how we interact with these, so I wanted to take some time to talk about these. So let's go. So Microsoft Teams, I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough of it to make sure everyone is aware of the things you can do. So here's a screenshot of my Teams, and I'm going to talk about a couple features in it. So one is chat. This image here is not going to change as I click these buttons. But chat is where we can chat with our coworkers and even people who are using Teams outside of your organization, and we'll talk about that in a second. Calendar, you can click on here to see your calendar, the same one you have in Outlook, but you will not be able to see shared calendars. So if you share calendars with others, you're not going to see those, you're just going to see yours. The best use of this calendar I've seen is if I'm in Teams and I know I have a Teams meeting coming up, I don't need to go open up Outlook and go to my calendar. I can just launch that meeting or go to that meeting I was invited to right through the Teams app. Teams, this is where all the files are located. So all the Teams sites that you're a member of, you would access them by, of course, hitting the Teams button. Calls, this is where, and this is the screen you do see here. Calls is where you're making phone calls. You can check the status of co-workers right here and other people who use Teams. And we're going to talk more about that in a moment. Files, you can have quick access to your OneDrive folder as well as all of your Teams files. What's nice about clicking here is you can see a chronological list by date you have and time you have accessed files. So your most recent 20 files, both in OneDrives and in various Teams sites, would be there. So if you knew you opened up a file in Teams yesterday, you weren't quite sure where you had accessed it from, like what Teams site, you could click on this on files and you're probably going to see it in the recent open files. You can open it again right from there. Freshdesk, I'll talk about this for one moment. Freshdesk is our help desk application. Everyone here uses that to put tickets in for Jeff and I. Freshdesk is beginning work on integrating into Teams. And unfortunately, right now, the integration, although you can see parts of it, it's really just for like Jeff and I on an agent part of Team of the help desk. But shortly, I am promised by powers to be that it will be integrated for everyone, meaning you could go onto the Freshdesk button, it will look like a chat box, and you can open up new tickets right from there without having to create a ticket in the application or sending us an email. And then we can interact through the life of that ticket right through Teams. Very exciting, at least to me it is. Adobe Acrobat, this is another exciting thing. They're finally beginning to integrate Adobe Acrobat into Teams. One thing to remember about this challenge that we have with PDFs and Microsoft Teams, they are two different companies doing very similar things, and they're both looking for our dollars, right? They really don't want to integrate if they don't have to. Adobe just wants you to buy their product. Microsoft wants you to buy theirs. We're integrated with Microsoft in a very big way here, but we also do subscribe to Adobe. So we do use both. This integration is getting better and better. I'm hoping soon that the integration will be even fuller. So right now, I can open up an Adobe document. Before, it would only open up in your internet browser. You couldn't open it up in the Adobe program, which you still can't really. So if you clicked on an Adobe document and you wanted to fill out a digital signature or some information on there, you really have to download it, open it up in Adobe, and do the work there. This is Microsoft crawling its way towards improving that. So when you have this Adobe Acrobat here, when you open up a PDF document, it's going to open it up within Teams and gives you a little more ability to interact with that document. Although if you really want to work on it like a purchase order, you've always still got to download it. But the integration is coming. And I believe that's because Adobe and Microsoft both know it's in their best interest to play together in the same sandbox. So we're getting there. If you do not have the Adobe Acrobat on your Teams, let me know. Apps is a place you can explore apps that we have authorized that you can integrate into your Teams. So if you integrate it into yours, it won't integrate into anybody else's. So you can explore different apps there. And over here on the right side, I just want to talk real quickly about contact groups. You can see this plus bar. You can add as many contact groups as you want. I recommend creating one for each department and adding the employees into that. It's a great way to communicate with your coworkers, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So creating groups and teams, and on that right side, as I said, you hit the plus bar. You can just name these groups any way you want. I have mine for the most part named by department. I have a couple other ones, and we'll talk about them in a moment. So here I'll use building and housing as an example. I hit plus, made it building and housing, and then next to building and housing there's another plus, and you can add members. So all you got to do is search like Kevin, and Kevin Gore and Kevin Beans will come up because they're the only Kevins in the borough, in our organization. And you can simply add them by hitting the little plus next to it. And if you can quickly add, you can quickly add all the employees for each department if you knew everybody. So when I click on building and housing, this is going to open up. And then if I click on Kevin, I'm going to get some good information about Kevin here. But if I go to this first one here, we see Kevin, Judson, and Wendy. I can immediately see Kevin and Wendy are available. They're by their computers. Means the computer can see them active on their computer. And they can see that Kevin and Judd are away from their PC. They're probably out doing inspections. This is what these guys do. But if I click on Kevin, I can see a bunch of information here. I can chat with him right away by hitting this button. I can video chat with him through Teams. I can call his phone. If I hit this right here, this is the organizational structure. This way, if I click on this, it will give you an organizational chart of who Kevin reports to and who reports to Kevin. It's pretty cool. And you're also going to see this LinkedIn integration more and more with Microsoft. This is because Microsoft purchased LinkedIn, and they're beginning to integrate that into their applications. You can also add external contacts in Microsoft Teams. Many companies now, if you just ask people you work with, hey, do you use Microsoft Teams? I bet you 40 to 50% of the time they're going to tell you yes. We're not the only ones out there using Teams. And one of the cool things about that is we can connect to these other organizations just like we do here. So in this example, WatchKeep, they are our contractor for disaster recovery solutions. They're on Teams, and I was able to add my different contacts there. And I can interact with them the same way. I can click on WatchKeep, look at that group, I can see who's available. I can chat with that person, video, call with them, phone call with them. There's their email address. It's really a good feature. If you can start building out more groups in your teams with other stakeholders. But be aware, this is really only working right now for organizations that do use Teams. Real quickly, we're going to talk about exploring your team's sites and channels. Every department has a team site, and within the site can be channels. Think of them as glorified mega file folders, like we used to have file folders. Microsoft likes to call them channels. And the reason they do this is a way to organize permissions and sharing. So over here on the left, you're going to see the IT site. These are all channels. This is how we organize our data and our information within our department. And you can make channels private within. If a channel is not private, it will share the same sharing permissions of the main site. This is a great way to add other people into your team site without giving them access to all the channels. Sort of like CI reports. I don't remember, but I probably have like Sean Metric included in the CIO reports. of this, but he doesn't need maybe project management or service and status boards. So it's a great way to organize your information in your team site. And also, any file you have in your team site, you can share, just like you can in OneDrive. And we won't talk about OneDrive in a moment, in particular. But if you find a file in your team's site or in a channel you want to share, hit the three dots next to it, hit share. You get something that looks very similar to the OneDrive sharing options that we're going to talk about in a little bit, except for in Teams, you cannot share a file with people outside of the organization. Teams is meant for internal use only. But I can share if I click this option here, I can immediately share this file with everyone in your organization, although they are not members of the IT team site. I can send this to people with existing access. So let's say Sean Metric is already a member of this CIO Reports channel. If I hit share, people, click this, it creates a link out to them saying, hey, there's something new here, I want you to see this. And it will send them directly there from their email. People you choose, let's say for some reason, I want Keith Kurowski, Kevin Gore, and Ramsey all to see this report, but they're not members of the site or even the channel. I can go over here, click this, it will give me an option to pick those employees and I can send it to them. Also remember, whenever you're sharing a file in Teams or OneDrive, you can choose view or edit. So be aware of what you're doing there. Do you want the person to view it, or do you want them to collaborate and make some changes for you? And block download. This is especially good for when we talk about sharing files on OneDrive. You're sharing something externally, maybe you do not want them to download the file. They're limited to viewing it online. We'll talk about that when we get to OneDrive. And now we're at file sharing, particularly through OneDrive. And you can see this menu, if I click on any file, this is what I'm going to get, and now anyone is available here. So if I select this one, which we keep debating internally about turning this off, because if you share it with anyone who has that link that you send out can open the file. Something to be very aware of and cautious of. So if I have a file, a report, and I want someone from another organization to see it, or even someone internally, they can then forward that email or even copy the link and send it anywhere they want, and now people are viewing the file that you did not intend for them to view, and you have lost control of that document. So use this one with care, and don't be surprised if it eventually goes away. People in the borough of Westchester. If you click this one, it's going to share it with everyone in the borough. Anyone who has a west-chester.com email is going to get a link to this, and they can open up the file. If that's what you want, that's awesome. If you don't want everyone in your organization to see it, don't do this one. I see sometimes people may do this one. I don't want to use the word lazy, but a laziness. You click it, boom, it's shared, you're done. You don't have to think about it. But everyone that can now in the organization can see it. People with existing access. We just touched on this in the Teams segment. If people already have access to it, but they may have forgot where the link is, you may want them to be reminded of it. You may have made changes and you want them to look at it like soon. If you click on this, it creates another share, you send it out. The same people are going to get it. You can say, hey, I made some changes. I know it's been a couple weeks. Can you take a look at this? People you choose. This is where if you want to choose to send a file to someone outside of the organization, you always should use this one. So if you choose this, you can choose people inside the organization and people outside the organization. So if you have a hybrid sharing scenario, you would use this one. And again here, be aware to choose view or edit. That's important. And doesn't hurt to say block download if you do not want people downloading your file. And here I'm kind of talking about the things. When you do choose anyone, I did forget, it will come up with this option here to pick the date when the link expires. So you're going to have to put a date in here. So be aware of that. if you're only going to need it for 30 days, put an end date on this thing. You can even set a password. I highly recommend that if you're sharing it with anyone, because then at least then you can only provide the password to those who need it. When you share everything else other than anyone, there is no expiration date. We have changed that recently, so you don't have to worry about the link expiring. You only have to worry about it expiring if you use anyone. We're going to go through all this. What did I share? What is shared with me? Did you know that if you go out to Office365.com and log in to your portal, and up here I just call this the hamburger menu, when you click on that, all your different apps are available. Click on OneDrive. OneDrive will open, and then you're going to see these two options here, shared with you. That's what you see here. Everything that's been shared with me will be here. So if I know something was shared with me, I don't know where the link is or when it was sent to me, I can go here. I can get a good rundown of everything that's been shared with me, and I can access it from there. And then, of course, I can get shared by me. I can see all the links I have out there. And you can also terminate links from here too. So it's a good place to kind of manage and see what you're sharing and what's been shared with you. Sharing files from Microsoft Teams. So this is the best way for sharing files within your organization if the file resides in Teams. Meaning, if the file's in Teams, don't create it again in OneDrive and send out another share. Share it directly, as I showed you earlier, from Teams. Hit those three dots and say share, and you can provide people access into that file even if they're not a member of that Teams site. Click here. He even has the share button here, or the three dots. And you can send a link, and there's going to be a direct link into the Teams. It's not a new file. Real quickly, for anyone who deals with the agendas and the Agenda Center, only place files in the Agenda Center that are intended for the website. IT does not scrub this information. Personal information should not be on our website of individuals. This includes credit cards, checks, dates of birth, things of this nature. Make sure this information is redacted from the document before it goes into the Agenda Center. Adobe Acrobat now has really good redaction tools that we are providing to staff as needed. So if you find that you need to redact information, be sure to contact us and we can upgrade your Adobe Acrobat and train you how to use that very important tool. So nothing goes in the Agenda Center that includes personal identifiable information, including financial information. And that's what we have for training today on sharing in Teams. Any questions about either of these two or anything else, never hesitate to reach out to us. Have a good cybersecurity safe day and week. Take care, everybody.